earlier. I had to cut it short because I was working, and then I got kind of caught up in the live chat. So live chat, I'm gonna try my best to not engage with you guys too much because I want to get through this video. This is going to be a masterclass on self comparison and why it's so important to be on guard with comparing ourselves too much with others. Growing up in my era, I was born in '86. We didn't have a lot of social media. There wasn't a lot of resources on the internet. Internet was kind of around, but wasn't as advanced as it is. So there wasn't many opportunities to compare yourself with others outside of the people in your immediate surroundings and your environments. And I think for good reason, it helped a lot of us in many ways who grew up in inner city environments, even though, you're going to compare yourself to your fellas, you're going to compare yourself to your homies and stuff like that. But I think not having a lot of access to just global comparison helped a lot of us in the inner city because, for one, we were grateful for what we had. And even the people who were around us, they might have had the flyer Air Force Ones, the flyer Jordans, but it was like nothing that was too out of reach for you if you worked hard, saved up your money, right? It wasn't like unless you grew up in LA or, somewhere where people had, it was like substantially different classes from one another. For the most part, you were straight, and it felt like since the onset of social media, as it started to get more advanced, with Instagram and all these different, platforms, I think that's when self comparison just got worse. So, what is self comparison? Self comparison is the process of measuring yourself, your traits, your performance, your progress, your successes, or your failures against those of others. In psychological terms, this is related to social comparison theory. All right. This is from Festinger, 1954, which holds that people have an innate drive to evaluate themselves by comparing with others, especially when objective standards are lacking. You see this a lot in your friendships. This even happened to me. A lot of people, who knew me prior to moving to Orange County, who knew Randy coming up, Randy hustling hard. I lived in San Diego. I didn't have a lot of money. Hey, what's up, Jessica? God bless you. I didn't have a lot of money growing up. A lot of people knew I was penny pinching, trying to save money, trying to work my way up. And then a lot of my friends, once they seen that I leveled up, and moved into a nicer neighborhood, I had better quality of living, things like that. Hey, what's up, Brooke? God bless you. A lot of people felt a certain kind of way. People feel a kind of way when you go through a level up. My day was blessed, Brooke. Thank you for asking. So when people start off with you when you kind of in a normal, regular standard, and then you move up, expect your friends to kind of act a certain way. So when I moved and I started getting nicer things, started to have a higher quality of life, people were kind of acting different. They're like, damn, Randy, I wasn't expecting you to level up, so fast. So sometimes people are not going to be so ready and on board with your level up. All right. And that is a product of self comparison. All right. So it says here, self comparison may be upward, meaning comparing to someone better in some dimension, or downward, comparing yourself to someone worse. And it often happens unconsciously or habitually. So why self comparison can be detrimental to your mental health? Hey, what's up? 123 Cab. So while some comparisons may have value, for example, inspiring growth, unchecked self comparison can undermine your mental health. Empirical evidence links greater tendencies for social or self comparison with higher levels of anxiety and depression. For instance, a study found that adolescents with lower self acceptance and higher levels of social comparison tend to report more anxiety, all right, and depressive symptoms. So, with social comparison partially mediating between self acceptance and poor mental health outcomes, all right, it's not necessarily, a bad thing to compare yourself to others. It's just when you find yourself getting discouraged, you may have a YouTube channel that's new, doesn't have a lot of people. I find myself doing it, having, different, how can I say, let me block the brother. He's kind of doing the line. So you might have, there we go. Sorry about that, chat. Sometimes, you might have trolls come in and do their thing. So You may have a new YouTube channel that's just getting off the ground and you're trying to build it up. And, you may from time to time look at people who are a little bit more experienced and have more views, or, you may not have as much money and you might have friends who have a little bit of wealth. And it's not, uncommon to feel a little bit stressed. Like, man, I wish I had a little bit more. I wish I could be doing a little bit better. They're over here doing so well. They're over here doing so great, you know? So you just don't want that to turn to bitterness and jealousy. All right. So it says here, moreover, self comparison on social media, especially upward comparison, has been shown to reduce self esteem and increase negative judgment. Hey, what's up, Bentley? So sometimes it's good to check other people channels out or to check other people lifestyles out on Instagram. I do it. You're looking at people, they got the Bentleys. You're looking at people from your age group and they're thriving, they're doing good. But sometimes it's almost better to not over focus and look at what other people are doing, because you don't want to block your blessings and also get in the way of things that you could be grateful for. There's a lot of stuff that we have to be, even if I have 3 people, 4 people show up to my YouTube channel, I'm thankful to God for those 3 or 4 people who really care about this channel. Yeah, I'm not doing 3,000 numbers. I know I have 1,500 subscribers. I may not be doing thousands of numbers, but if I have 4 people that ride with me and they're solid, I'm thankful for that. And if I'm looking at everybody else who's having 4 to 500 and they're doing great, it can get in the way. Self-comparison can get in the way of gratitude. All right. If gratitude had an enemy, it would be self-comparison. So if you find yourself now counting your blessings, maybe you only have a few subscribers. Maybe it took you 2 years to get 1,000 subscribers. So what God has for you, what life has for you, all right, it's for you. That's what makes it a blessing. It's for you. All right. So it's like, just be blessed that life even have something for you. All right. You don't really appreciate what you have until what you have had to be divided against amongst other people. When you get something that's specifically tailored for you, that's a blessing. That's a gift. Even if it's not much, if you're comparing, it's only not much. It's only not enough when you're comparing it to other people. All right. Because think about people who have less than you. All right. Maybe you only have 5 subscribers, but there are people who only got one. Right. Maybe you only get 4 viewers. There's some people who only get 1 viewer. All right. So there, if you, it depends on who you're looking at. All right. So it says, while some comparisons may have value, unchecked self comparison can undermine your mental health. Empirical evidence links greater tendencies for social or self comparison with higher levels of anxiety or depression. All right, so we talked about that. Why it erodes courage, motivation, and inspiration. When we continually compare ourselves to others, we risk letting others' results become our benchmark, and that can undermine courage. That happened to me when I was watching ISO Speed. Man, you can't tell me as a young YouTuber, a young streamer, you wasn't watching ISO Speed Tour. You only have 8 subs. Yeah, I get that. You can't tell me if you was a young YouTuber or streamer, everybody's watching ISO Speed. I got into arguments with my wife watching ISO Speed. I didn't even know who he was. But I'm like, oh, he's in America. He's doing America cool. Man, I felt so much a type of way. I was like, damn, he got all these people watching. He worked his ass off, so he earned it. I'm not hating, but I was just thinking like, damn, I didn't think streaming was popping. He got like 20K when he's sleeping. I was like, damn, like I was so insecure. I'm not gonna even lie. I was like, man, I'm gonna be just like ISO Speed. I'm gonna try to stream as much as I can. I'm gonna try to do it, and it just exhausted me. It burned me out. I can't be ISO Speed. I'm not ISO Speed. I can't get his numbers. I can't be him, and it's a blessing, right? God in life gave me what I can tolerate, what I can handle. Maybe I would lose my mind with 20K people watching me 24/7. Everybody has different capacities and abilities, and that's all right. So I had to stop looking so much at his results and almost like pocket watching. I had to kind of fall back, like, hey, everybody got what's for them. It's okay. Everybody got what's for them. So when we continually compare ourselves to others, we risk letting others' results become our benchmark, and that can undermine courage, diminish motivation. My channel was about God, baseball, and football. Nice. Y'all check out Football Best 2 and 3. Y'all show them some love. How did you feel? Do you have that trap sometime, football, where you kind of like you're looking at other channels that may be small channels and they're doing numbers and you're like, man, we're talking about the same thing. Like, why are they doing so much better? Have you ever had that? YouTube can get you to fall into that trap of self-comparison. Instagram, self-comparison, right? So it's these little things can really undermine our courage, undermine our. Hey man, love yourself. You're doing great. Football best two and three. You just being you is what makes you different. You showing up as you and taking what life is giving you is a blessing in and of itself. What life is doing for everybody else, that's between them and life. But what life has for you is uniquely for you. That's your gift. Even if it's only one subscriber, two subscribers, it don't matter. I got 1,500. But I will let God take me in my own direction. Yeah, follow your own path, right? Follow your. Let's be thankful we even have a path, right? That we can follow. And this is me talking to myself too. Hey, what's up, Akaiwa, man? Good to see you, man. Long time no see. So it says, again, when we continually compare ourselves to others, we risk letting others' results become our benchmark, and that can undermine courage, diminish motivation, and stifle your inspiration. If your standard becomes someone else's peak, you may hesitate to take risks or try imperfect beginnings, fearing that you will look inferior by comparison. Over time, that self-critical lens can shrink one's willingness to act. The mental energy spent evaluating how good I am relative to so and so can crowd out the energy needed to take creative leaps or press ahead in uncertain territory. In effect, comparison shifts focus from your own trajectory and growth to a scoreboard you don't control. Good to see you, man. Yeah, man, I miss seeing you. So why observing others is a skill, right? It's valuable to observe others. This is the trick about it. We're in a world of different people. So to a degree, we have to observe others unless you're walking around blindfolded or you can't see, but even then you're still hearing. So, and if you can't hear, there's still some degree of interaction with other people, right? So it's valuable to observe others, learn from their strategies, from their stories, their paths. But the key is to keep that observation from morphing into a judgment of your worth or progress. In other words, you can let other successes inform your perspective or even spark ideas, but you should not let their results dictate your own assessment or progress of effort. Gratitude is your anchor. When you regularly remind yourself of the unique gifts, opportunities, and context that you bring that others don't, you guard your heart from the comparison trap. It says, I am subbing because God made you and how he made me to have that lovely parents, friends, and family. Oh, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the sub. It's almost like being in the world, but not being of it. Right. It's like, exactly. It's like you be in the world, but you don't be of it. You observe people's success and, their ideas, but you don't let their results dictate who you are and how far you've came, or don't let others' results become the measurement of your growth and your success. Right. It's very typical. Sometimes it's easier just to shut down and isolate to avoid comparison. You ain't never lied, man. I was so close to just quitting YouTube. I'm like, shit. I'm on here dropping videos. Maybe I'm dropping too much. People are saying, shouldn't post every day. Some people saying you shouldn't talk about race. Some people are saying you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You should be more PC. And they're thriving. They're doing numbers. And I'm comparing myself to them. And what happens? I'm not being grateful. I'm not being thankful for the two or the few people that I do have, for the effort that I have put in. I'm looking at these metrics on analytics. I'm sometimes even comparing yourself to your past progress can hurt you. I'm looking like, man, I used to be doing so much better in Hawaii. I'm in California. Why am I hurting so bad? It's because I'm not good. So just being careful with that comparison thief. All right. It not only does it steal joy, it steals gratitude. All right. For just being grateful for what you have. That can help mitigate sort of like that comparison, just being grateful. What are some things I can be grateful for today? What I can be thankful for? That kind of helps that comparison because it's always there. We live in a world where comparison is always at your door as soon as you wake up. Y'all just like me. We wake up, where we on Instagram. We're looking on the internet, right? My channel is about a lot of different things, man. Mental health, race, navigating this world as a man, a lot of the trials and challenges and obstacles I made from poor decision making, not having a male role model, and just my own ignorance, and just putting it all on the table so that way y'all can do with it what you want. It's a buffet. You can eat the broccoli and the peas, you can leave it, but it's good for you. But if you don't eat it, I'm not mad at you. So it's like a buffet channel, all you can eat. So here it says, gratitude is your anchor. When you regularly remind yourself of the unique gifts, opportunities, and contexts that you bring that others don't, you guard your heart from the comparison trap. We must be vigilant because comparison is habitual, but also be gentle with yourself since we have intrinsic value regardless of what others achieve. All right. So the social media digital platforms, the design of social media encourages Upward comparison. People tend to present their curated, best, idealized versions of themselves, right? Which others then consume as normative benchmarks. That's good. I know, right? Just having God and having a roof over your head. Look at the people in Gaza, man. That I'm telling you, man. I used to see my friend on Instagram. He's eating lobster and crab, and he's eating shrimp. He's eating all different restaurants. Him and his like they don't have kids, so he's there eat. They got all this money that I'm spending in child support they can use to put in their belly, and I'm just like, damn, they're eating so good, and we eat good too. You know, yeah, my wife Chinese. We eat some good soups and rice. So I'm like, damn, they're eating at all these damn places. Man, I looked at Gaza, man, and they barely got a bowl of soup, man. You know, the trucks are coming out there to feed some of these people, and they're just swarming just to get bags of flour. They're picking up flour from the ground. I'm like, man, Randy, sit your ass down. You know, you over here, even if you're eating a damn bowl of cereal, man, be thankful, man. You know, be thankful for what you have. It's people out here that don't got shit. You over here comparing yourself to niggas that, you know, they eating scampi and, you know, because everybody posting their food online, right? And sometimes I just feel bad. I don't even really want to post food anymore because I'm like, shit, it's people out here not eating. The fuck am I doing posting steak? And cause I used to do cooking videos on Instagram, like just all kind of shit. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me just fall back. You know, it's just not. It's not. You just some. It's just that Gaza situation just really gave me perspective. I'm like, man, be thankful for what you got, and even with what you got, you don't got to flaunt it. You don't got to put it out there in the world, all right? Because there's other people who don't have that who are suffering. And what are you communicating to them? All right. So that's just for me. What you guys do is your business. So it says in one study, problematic social media use correlated with more negative upward comparisons. And that mediated the link between social media use and depressive symptoms because you're constantly exposed to others' highlight reels. You may unconsciously compare more frequently. Man, I wake up in the morning, first thing I go to is Instagram. I need to be praying with my 40-year-old ass, but here I am on Instagram scrolling, looking, and you know what's going on. Sometimes I look at the news. I mean, you know, you're looking at the news and you're looking at everybody's lifestyle, and then I can see where it would cause depression. So I got to set time limits on my Instagram. And even when the time limit goes off, I'm like, okay, let me ignore this for the day and just keep fucking scrolling Instagram. It's addictive. I am very grateful for what God provided my mom with her cooking, her skills. And even if I don't like her, I say thank you, nothing else. That's awesome, man. Good man. What's that? Football best 2 and 3. I like that, man. You have a really great, healthy mindset, man. God bless you and your mom and your family. Some people naturally have a higher orientation towards self comparison or social comparison, meaning they habitually compare to others more than average. This comparison orientation is linked to lower self worth. So, this is what comes with comparison: low gratitude, all right, low self worth, all right, low inertia. You don't feel courageous and just the motivation to take initiative, all right. So, a lot it gets taken away with self comparison, all right. So it says this comparison orientation is linked to lower self worth and more psychological stress. When it's a trait, comparison becomes part of how one filters experience, making it harder to control. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother. If one holds internal doubts or low self acceptance, one is more vulnerable to comparison. In the adolescent study cited earlier, low self acceptance predicted greater tendency towards social compare, which in turn predicted more depressive symptoms. Essentially, if your internal baseline is insecure, you lean on external benchmarks more heavily. All right. Comparing upward to someone who is better is more psychologically harmful than downward comparisons. All right. Many studies find that upward comparisons are linked with envy, dissatisfaction, and depressive affect. Football best. Do you do gratitude reminders every day to kind of keep yourself from in that space? It's like being grateful and doing a gratitude journal each day is like your buffer from the demon of the negatives of self comparison. Just being grateful every day keeps you centered and grounded in all the good that God has given you. Football best. Do you engage in that gratitude work every day? So it says here, many studies find that upward comparisons are linked with envy. Awesome. Dissatisfaction and depressive affect. Depressive affect is like you look like a stone face. You got that stone face, all right? Downward comparisons may give temporary ego boosts, but they also risk fostering complacency or a fragile sense of superiority, all right? If you don't have your own measurable goals, progress markers, or standards, you'll gravitate more towards comparing to others. When your internal compass is weak, the external scoreboard seems more compelling. This is one reason people compare in areas where progress is hard to quantify. All right. How one explains causes, internal versus external, moderates the effect of comparison. In the adolescent study, those with external attributional styles, believing outcomes owed more to external forces, had weaker mediation effects between comparison and depression. Whereas those with internal attribution styles showed stronger links. If you lean towards externalizing failures, I'm unlucky. It's because of the circumstances. Then comparison may feel more threatening or random. So self discrepancy, right? The theory of self discrepancy suggests that distress arises when the actual self falls short of internalized ideal or ought selves. When your benchmark is not someone else but an ideal, you may constantly compare to standards that are unrealistic or shifting. These are these are comparative biases where your self evaluation shifts depending on your reference group. The frog pond effect suggests one feels worse when surrounded by higher performing peers. The big fish, little pond effect indicates you feel better when you stand out in a low performing group. Thus, your social context shapes your comparative judgments more than absolute performance. So, a lot of times, people who are doing really, really well, unconsciously they'll feel more comfortable around people who are not as successful, right? You'll notice, like, man, why is this person that's so successful around all these people who are doing, like, barely making it just above average? Are you even having relationships where one person is just an achiever, but their partner is not so much? Because, that internally, it's that big fish, little pond effect, right? Where they feel better because they stand out in that low performing group. All right. You'll even see people, streamers, who are like doing really, really well, but they'll surround themselves around people who are just kind of coming up, and they're just kind of working their way up, right? Some people, and this is sort of like some of the curse of human nature where, even if we're doing good, you would think the results of us doing good would be enough. But it's like, no, I got to be around people that are kind of doing all right. And it makes me feel even better, you know? Yeah, man. Don't let that stop you, man. Don't let that stop you. You can still do great things, man, like you're doing. So the self-evaluation maintenance theory posits that when someone close to you does well in a domain important to your identity, it threatens your self-esteem. Hence, when peers in your field succeed, you may feel diminished. I felt like this, man. A lot of my friends in Detroit and my middle school we went to was like an experimental school. One of the colleges, Wayne State University, created their own middle school, like a charter school, just for a couple of years to see how it worked out, and it got closed. When I tell you, most of my middle school class is so successful, they are, man. One of my friends became a famous rapper. I mean, he's not like a Drake or nothing like that, but he's so connected. He's so talented. He's around all these famous people. At one point, I wanted to rap, and it would just crush me. I'm like trying to do everything I can to get on. It just seemed like it just naturally unfolded for him. And that comparison demon, man, I stopped being grateful. I was so insecure. I'm like, damn, man, how did he get on? Like, you know, keep it to yourself. Self comparison. Yeah, I was just like, man, all my friends are doing so good. Y'all ever had that feeling where it's like the people you went to high school with or middle school with, it's like, man, some of them became so successful, and you're like, damn, what am I doing wrong? You might be working hard as hell, but it just seemed like some things just fall. That self comparison demon, man. And I had to realize, like, man, you know what? Everything isn't for everybody, Randy. They became successful. They became great in their own light, in their own lane, because that's what life wanted for them. And what life wants for you is to be great and what life has given you. So I was like, you know what? Let me transition more into psychology. Maybe hip hop, maybe rap isn't my thing. So it can really just, that social comparison is a real big thing. All right. Individuals with social anxiety are more sensitive to how others see them, and thus they may compare more frequently in daily life. Two experienced sampling studies found frequent comparisons linked to shifts in momentary affect, especially those high in social anxiety, because their self worth is vulnerable to external judgment. They may monitor others to calibrate their self possession. It says, I have a really good friend that has 188 subs. Yeah, man, I have about 1,500 subs, man. And honestly, when I do lives, even with 1,500 subs, man, I probably have all of like 3 or 4 people really sticking these lives, man. So the subs are not, they need to really do proper education on YouTube to show people, like, subs are important. Don't get me wrong, but they're not like the measure of your success or your worth. All right. It's not so much the subs, it's the people who actually are dedicated and committed to supporting you and supporting your channel. Man, I have almost 2,000 subs, and probably about, I'll be lucky if I get 2 people, to show up on my lives. And I know a lot of it is on me. I'm not going to blame everybody else. I know there's other factors outside of my control, but I take responsibility, for the stuff that I've said, my delivery. I don't always follow community guidelines. There's been some times where I have viewers and I'm like, fuck off, so that I have to live with the consequences of that. All right. So don't be like me. If you really want to win and you really want to do this thing right, be respectful, be kind, keep your emotions under your control, because sometimes even self-comparison will cause a little bit of anger in you and rage, and then you'll start taking it out on your viewers, taking it out on your subscribers, because you're so pissed off. Don't do like I did. Even if you got 1 or 2 subscribers, that's a blessing. Just give it time, and don't focus too much of your time on when you're going to get the next subscriber or the next. Just keep creating, just keep being great, and people will come. And I'm thankful for my subscribers. Don't get me wrong. Even if they don't watch a video, I'm thankful that they clicked and said, you know what, I want to subscribe to him, because they could easily be like, I don't want to, right? And they've been holding me down. But I only have probably, bro, like 2 or 3 people that'll really show up, to my live. So it's not always about your subscriber counts. So envy arises when you see others' advantages and perceive a lack in yourself. It says most of the other people that do live just do gaming. This is another reason why I sub to you, because you talk about, no, I appreciate it, integrity and gratefulness. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'll talk more about that. I think I'm gonna lean away from some of the race stuff. I love history, and culture. So that's just a value of mine. It's not that I'm a race baiter or I'm a racist and I go to sleep thinking about that stuff. It's just I love history. I love Black history. I love European history, Asian history, American history, world history. And I like to see how that stuff snowballs into today. History is current events, but everybody is not me. Everybody isn't Randy, right? So I think I'm gonna transition a little bit out of the sort of like the heavy racial stuff, and I'm always gonna be available to have discussions on that stuff because that's who I am. But I'm not gonna always lead with that. So I think I'm gonna transition to more integrity, more positivity, man, more pumping positivity out there. Success, integrity, like this conversation right here on self comparison. I was going to do a video on looks, and everything is about physical attractiveness. And, if you look great, if you look good, you get more opportunities. But then I thought about it. I was like, damn, man, like, I felt like it was my Holy Spirit. It was like, Randy, do you want to keep going down this path, man, or just point out everything that's wrong? This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. I don't like this. This is wrong. I don't like that. And I don't like this. It's like, what type of person do you want the world to see you as? Like, is that really who you are? Like, do you want to be that guy? Is that really who you are? And that's not who I am, man. Life is so good for me, man. I'm so